means town. Okay? And the name of this pueblo, the name of this town is Siempre Verde, always green. Okay? Now, this is just a general representation of what an average, town or pueblo in the Spanish-speaking world can look like. Not all of them look like this. And of course, just like in all parts of the world, you also have like big cities, and then you have people that live in the boonies, in the middle of nowhere, type of thing. All right, but this would be your average small whatever kind of town. Now, for whatever reason, your average town, your average pueblo, a lot of the old ones were designed like this. Now, just as an FYI, most, not all, but about like 98% of the Spanish-speaking world is Catholic. So a lot of it revolves around those kinds of things. And so always, always, always in the center square, you have at the very top, La Iglesia. What is La Iglesia? Church. Yeah, you can say it louder, Riley. Church. Now, typically it is a Catholic church or a Catholic cathedral, but for those of you that are Protestant, don't feel left out, because the word iglesia applies to any, let me back up, applies to any Christian house of worship. Now, what would synagoga be? Synagogue. So for those of you that are Jewish, synagogue. Templo? Temple. So if you're like Buddhist or Hindu or anything like that. And finally, we're going to cover all our bases. Mezquita. We're talking about houses of worship. Mosque. Muy bien. Mosque. So iglesia would refer to any Christian worship house, whether Catholic, Protestant, and everything in between. Synagogue, for anyone who may be Jewish. Templo, for, if your religion worships at a temple. So, like I said, Buddhist or Hindu or anything of that nature. And then mezquita if you're Muslim, mosque. So now you know all of them, all right? Although just FYI, very rare that you'll find anything besides a Catholic church or a cathedral in a lot of South America or even Spain. You can. Don't get me wrong, But, more than likely it's going to be one of those, all right? Now, typically, along with, the church, you had all of the other government buildings, so and anything else. So if you move to the left of the church, of the iglesia, El Banco, and they put a big money sign in front of it to help you out. Bank, all right? Yes. It's one of those words that's pretty similar, like you just take the word bank and add an O to it, except that in Spanish, even though we have the letter K, we don't use the letter K that often, so it's with a C, so banco, all right? So banco is the bank. Don't be fooled, because it's all been modernized. So in a lot of cases, I know I can't even remember the last time I stepped into un banco, unless it was to, because it had a little cubby, unless it was to use el cajero automático.
ATM?
Yes. Now, do you know what ATM stands for?
Automated teller machine.
Yes, and that's literally what that means, the automated teller. Cajero automático. Now, That's what that's what a viejo like Santos would say. People like you would say el ATM or el ATM. Okay? You'll hear both. Like I've heard both from kids. Oh, el ATM? Oh, sí, está ahí. Like, I'm like, el ATM. Okay, I could have just said that shit. All right? I'm all like, ¿dónde está el cajero automático? And you're like, oh, el ATM. Or some people might say, el ATM. Oh, sí, whatever. Okay? But either one. Okay? So, yes, because like I said, I can't even remember the last time I went to a bank unless it was to use an ATM. And people are like, well, how do you deposit stuff? I'm like, I don't know. It just shows up. Like every other Friday, there's just money in my account. El depósito directo. Or the last time I had to cash a check, el app. And guess what el app is? We just call it el app. Okay? See, you just take a picture and they're like, okay, you got money. And I'm like, ooh, with a picture too. All right, so muy bien. All right, now, going over to the other side of, let me stop at the fountain. It doesn't mean fountain. This one's really, really hard. You may need to write it down. La plaza. I'd go with Todd on this one, the plaza. Yes, if you want to call it the central square, you can, but if you just say the plaza, which is basically like a park with just concrete, just a big square. Yeah. Sometimes there's a fountain, sometimes there's like whatever. Okay? So on the other side now, el cine. I was going to say rally in normal English. Yes, movie theaters. If you want to say cinema, because Riley's extra, then she can say cinema. Pero, I was going to say that is where we get the word cinema from cine. So cine is the movies. Okay? Now, they put a big envelope just to help you out, but no, there's no pictures of envelopes. And they use blue boxes. But just FYI, blue is only in the United States. Other countries have like crazy different colors. In Britain, they're red. Okay? But la oficina de correos. Post office. Yes, the post office. Okay? Now, I do go to the post office on occasion. But yeah, the United States is the only place I've seen them blue. Throughout South America, they can either be red, green, I've seen them yellow, I forget what other colors, it's just, just random colors that the country chooses. But yes, in Britain, they're red. You see the things? Yep, that's where the mail goes. Okay? Now, the next one that's there, la tienda, they have like pictures of clothes and like a boot at the top, okay? The word tienda is just a generic word for store. Okay, so tienda means store. If you want to tell us what kind it is, you add de and then whatever they sell. Okay, so since this one appears to be a clothing store, okay, the word for clothes in Spanish is ropa. So you would say la tienda de ropa, okay? So a store where they sell clothes, okay? La tienda de música can obviously mean a lot of things, but if you think of like, I don't know, like Big Apple Music, you can buy musical instruments, music supplies, sheet music, like all of that, okay? So la tienda de música, okay? La tienda de... I can't even think right now. All right? But yes, okay? And you're like, well, what about food? Well, we'll get to that because there are like in English specific terms. Okay? So tienda just means store, and then you would add whatever it is that they sell. Okay? Now, we're going back across the plaza. In some small towns and villages, you do have el mercado al aire libre. Mercado means market. Aire libre means open air or outdoor. Okay? So what here, I guess we would call like a farmer's market or an open air market. Okay? And just like around here, like if you go to the one in Clinton, it's done in the center square. It's done in the center plaza. The one in New Hartford's kind of pathetic, but it's done in the little square also, okay, across from the fire station. So yeah, okay, el mercado al aire libre. A lot of people will go and buy like daily what they need, whether it's fruits or typically fruits and vegetables, but you can also buy like other things, okay? Now, if you move down un poquito, a lot of places have el supermercado. What is a supermercado? Supermarket, yes, a supermarket, okay? So el Price Chopper, el Hannaford's, el whatever, el Wegmans, okay? Yeah, well, not here, but, you know, in cool places. Now, please be aware, and it isn't just in Spanish-speaking countries, but in a lot of European countries, and like I've lived in Asia, you go to el supermercado, all you will find is food. That's it. Okay? You want like something like mouthwash or toothpaste, you got to go to a pharmacy. You got to go to a farmacia. Okay? Even for things like Tylenol, you can't get it at the supermarket. You have to go to a pharmacy and stuff like that. So you can literally only buy food, okay, at the supermercado.
It's just a market.
Yeah.
What's so super about it if I can't buy Tylenol?
There's lots of food. You don't have to stand outside. You don't have to tell someone, give me 3 pounds of lemons. You can get 3 pounds of lemons on your own. That's what's super about it. Okay? Type of thing. I know, it's kind of, sometimes you think it's inconvenient, but it's kind of cool to be able to walk in and say, hola, necesito el Tylenol. And then they reach behind and they pull it out, they put it in a little bag, and they're like, you know, I don't know. There's a certain charm that has been lost in your modern era of like running into Walmart and buying everything and then self-checkout. Or no, you just download it on the app, you don't even get out of your car and someone brings it out to you. That's like, that's what I like. Just sit in my car, don't even have to deal with people. Oh, you don't like that?
I just something Tylenol of it. They never.
I just dig out the ground.
Yeah. It's like, I asked Santos, you got Tylenol? Here you go. One thing I forgot, and I apologize, if you go to the far left of La Plaza, okay, now I know we've said that café means coffee, but el café, yes, gracias, it's also the word for coffee shop or cafe. And so students sometimes are like, well, Santos, so then I get café en el café? Yeah. Okay, you do, in Espanol. Okay, so I could say, Seth, ¿quieres ir al café para un café? You want to go to the cafe for a coffee? You want to go to the coffee shop for a coffee? So café, café. All right? Now, a couple other things you may or may not have. If you look at the right, to the right of el supermercado, el restaurante. What is restaurante? Restaurant. Sí, el restaurante. Okay? Now, in front of el supermercado, there's a couple of things, looking all the way to the left. Okay? El museo. A lot of these small pueblos have local museums. You'd be surprised, even the smallest village. I mean, it might be just like one room this size, but they do have el museo. What is el museo? Museum. Okay? When I was staying in Vietnam, they took me to a fishing museum, supposedly. And I swear, it was like just 2 rooms this size. But for the first time ever, I saw like whale teeth and like shark bones. And they even let me touch them. And they're like, here, yeah, feel them. I'm like, okay. You know, give it to the American. And I'm like, oh my God, shark teeth. So it was kind of cool. But yeah, el museo. Okay. El parque. park. All right. Now, a lot of parks, especially in Latin America, it's basically just green areas where you can sit. Sometimes it has like areas for children, like swings and slides, but a lot of them actually don't. They're just meant for you to sit. And if there are children, they like make up their own shit. They like bring a ball and like just play soccer, like football, like just pickup games, type of stuff. So it's not like structure, like, oh, do the swing, do the slide, do the bar. No, you just start running and playing. Once again, some of them do have it, all right, but a lot of them don't. Now, what they will have tables with like boards already carved in. So if you bring your own checkers or chess pieces, you can actually just play there with someone, okay? Which I think is kind of cool. You just go outside, you're playing chess in the outdoors. In some areas that I lived, they called it bocha, which I thought was weird until I met a bunch of Italians. Lawn bowling, where you just have pins and on the grass and you throw like a heavy metal ball or whatever. And I'm like, oh, so, and they're like, yeah, we call it bocce. And I'm like, but in Espanol, it's bocha. All right, so yeah, it's the same thing. You're like, I've seen old Italian dudes. Yeah.
I've just heard of bocce.
Yeah.
I think they do it at the Tijuana as well.
Yeah. Well, in South America, they just do it in random parks. They just set up their pins and bring their heavy balls and start throwing shit.
I didn't even know what bocce was.
Yeah, I just call it lawn bowling. It's basically what it is. Yeah, lawn bowling, grass bowling, gracias. Okay? And then finalmente, I think I mentioned this when we did the word club. It can mean like an actual dance club, but typically, because Los Parques don't really have like, like a basketball court or a tennis court or things like that, like a park here in the US might have, you actually have to join a club, or if you want like exclusivity, like, you want it to be clean and you don't want to deal with like just public people or, random children screaming at you or whatever. And so in this case, for example, Club de Natación. What would a Club de Natación be? A swim club. So Leighton pays a fee per month and he gets to use La Piscina. What is piscina? The pool. Yeah, whenever you want, you get to bring guests, whatever. Now, when I used to visit my cousins in Mexico, they belonged to un club de tenis, at least one particular set of cousins. So whenever we'd go visit, they'd be like, hey, little Santos, you want to come to El Club de Tenis? And I was like, I used to play, believe it or not, when I was younger and much lighter. So the fun part about going to play tennis in other parts of the world, this is also just as an FYI, here in America we have hard courts. They're concrete, cement, whatever the hell they make it out of. In South America, it's clay. Which is so much different experience and it's so much fun. Yes, it's very soft. The ball bounces slower, so even old fat guys like me can still play. And it's not as bad on your knees because it is soft. If you've ever watched the French Open or any other European tournament, they play on clay for those. So it's an experience, okay? So see, all right? Yeah, and yes, I used to play tennis when I was younger, but gordo y viejo, so no mas, okay? But you have different types of groups, okay? Finally, not finally, but, and I didn't miss it on purpose, even though a lot of places look like this, okay? If you look to the top left, it has the word centro, because what it just means downtown. This would be referred to as el centro, because in a lot of small pueblos, you still go downtown for everything important. Once upon a time in America, like even before I was born, that's what the way it was here, okay? Eventually everything moved to the suburbs and to other areas. And so now, if you look in the top right corner, and I think I gave it to you over there as well, el centro comercial. Centro comercial is mall or shopping mall, okay? Now, in Espanol, anything like Sangertown or Destiny USA would be Centro Comercial, but it can also be like Consumer Square, like where Walmart and Barnes and Noble is. The actual, I think, term for those are strip malls, but where everything like faces outdoors, as opposed to everything being enclosed. In Espanol, we use the same term, Centro Comercial, for both of those. Okay, and so in a lot of really big cities, you see mucho Centro Comercial. The last time I was in Mexico City, my son actually found one, and I'm like, there's no malls. And he's like, yes, there is. So we went, shit, this thing was like bigger than Destiny. It was huge. It was awesome. There's even a Lego store. I know. I was just like, well, damn. Me gusta Mexico. Okay. We also found a Walmart in Mexico, which looked just like the one in New Hartford. Literally the same color scheme, the same layout. I was just like, holy crap. The only difference was that everything was in Espanol. Oh, and the foreign foods had Oreos and Pop-Tarts and Ritz crackers. Why would those be? Why would those be in the foreign foods? Yeah, they're foreign to Mexico. So I was just like, holy shit! Like, and then like all the everything that was normal was, you know, so the stuff that I got to go into the foreign aisle for here in North Utica, type of thing. You know, like, oh yeah, the good Mexican food. All right, not the old El Paso either. All right, that's shit. So yeah, okay. Now, just a couple things before we move on. If you go to page 97, okay, we use the word tienda and the word de, and then you add what the place sells. An older way, and you still see this in a lot of places, is to take whatever item and add the word eria at the end. Okay? So, for example, the word for fruit in Spanish is fruta, and you will find stores, una fruteria. Now, this is in places where there's no supermercado, and in some really, really small pueblos, you literally still have to go to like 4 or 5 different places to get all of your food. Fruit and vegetable store, all right, a fruteria.
And I found out for there's a place called Taqueria.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because they sell tacos.
Yeah.
A taqueria, yeah. It's with a Q though, but yes, a taqueria is a taco place. That's all they sell. Don't go in there asking for a quesadilla or, you know, shit like that. The only thing, no, seriously, the only thing that are like, I want some enchiladas and I want like, nope, all we have are tacos. And literally, that's it. All they sell are tacos. Like chicken, beef, or pork. What do you want? And then, of course, the toppings. Like, you know, you throw, and that's it. Okay. Oh, but can I get a side of rice? Get the fuck out. There's no rice here. What's it say? Tacos. That's all we have. Tacos. Nothing else. Okay. So yes, a taqueria. All right. It's funny because I'll put this up sometimes. The word carne means meat. And it's yours. And I don't blame Gen Z here. Carniceria, people will be like, a meat store? Well, no, they're not called meat stores, but once upon a time, gracias, a butcher store or a butcher shop, okay? Yeah, I can still remember going to a butcher shop as a little kid. Obviously, like now, you just grab a slab of whatever in the cold area. With the exception of Shenatries, they still have butchers there that will like cut. Okay, a butchery. Yeah. Okay, so there's still some places, especially around here, but I know I've had students be like, a meat store? I'm like, okay. It's not in your book. Does anyone remember what papel is? Paper? You don't see these anymore. They used to be around. Yes, you could call it a paper store, but what's the actual term? Does anyone know? Yeah, print shop or like a stationery store, a papeleria. Okay.
What's the difference between a tienda and a
Tienda just means store. Eria also means store, but just sometimes we add it to the end of the product that it sells, and then sometimes we just say a whatever store. It means the same thing. Does anyone know what a zapato is? Shoes. So what would a zapateria be? Shoe store. Yeah. Okay, you buy shoes there. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Now, they